So, you're not being heard because you're a teen or a young adult, and older people around you don't listen so well. And it's frustrating. And sometimes you're told you have to go to therapy because the people around you won't listen to what you're saying, and they don't take you seriously. And it's confounding and upsetting. Worse, sometimes you go to see a therapist, and the therapist doesn't even listen to you. They tell you what you're thinking, they tell you what you're feeling. They're doing anything but hearing what you're saying and hearing the pain of your experiences and the things that you are there to learn from and hopefully resolve and move on from. And it all seems so hopeless. My name is Suzanne Kellner-Zinck, and I own Dawning Visions Hypnosis, and I'm here to tell you that I got into hypnotism because many moons ago, my therapist didn't listen to me. Actually, my therapist listened to me. It was the psychiatrist that wouldn't listen to me. And I was forced to take way too much medication to the point where I was incapable of doing much of anything. And it was a total bummer because, well, you want to be able to do the things you need to do in your life, even if it's not fun things. Like in this case, I'm talking about doing the laundry, for example, in a laundromat at the time. But the situation was that I knew there had to be a better way. And I searched until I found that better way. But I didn't look for the better way for myself, actually. Although I knew in my heart of hearts that I didn't need to see a psychiatrist and be on medications for the rest of my life. No, I did not. And I wasn't willing to go there either. In my case, I had bipolar 2. It was known as manic depression in the old days when I was diagnosed back in 1989 or so. What I'm here to tell you is that you, yes, you, have all your own answers in your own mind. And the fact of the matter is that adults need to shut up and listen more to what you are saying. And maybe even the things that you're not saying, and the words between the things that you're saying, in order to help you. And this is what I do in my practice. I love working with adolescents because they're wonderful at hypnotism and neurolinguistic programming because, well, quite frankly, the brain isn't fully developed until 25, 26 years old. And that means that adolescents are in hypnotic trance state all the time. You know this because, well, you get lost in your thoughts, or you get lost in your music, or you get lost in your video games or whatever it is that you're involved in doing, and time goes by and, well, you don't care. And if your mom or dad tries to get you to get up and move to go do something else, you don't even hear them. And that's the beauty, because you're in a trance state already. So I use that to help my clients to heal and to become, well, healthy, whole, and complete, and feeling really good about themselves. So here on this channel, what we're going to be doing is learning about how the brain actually works, and the difference between the brain and the mind, and why that matters, and how to be able to use it to your best advantage, based on the whole idea of what hypnotism truly is. Not the garbage you see on the movies, which has nothing to do with reality, by and large, and nothing about what most of the mental health professionals say because they've not been trained in it, so therefore how could they possibly know about that which they've never learned about? There's some who try to do it. They take a weekend class and think that they understand it. Trust me, they don't. That's how their patients become my clients, because they try to do it and they have no idea what the hell they're doing. So we're going to be learning about these things, and I'm going to be explaining it in terms that you can understand. So let's first understand the first concept here, how the brain actually works. You have 3 brains, actually. You have your conscious mind. That's the part of your mind that I like to jokingly say thinks it knows what it's doing, but if it actually knew what it was doing, it'd stop doing the things you want to stop doing, and you'd be doing the things that you do want to be doing, but we don't do it. Then we have the unconscious mind, or the subconscious. And that part of the brain is actually in the amygdala of the brain where the emotions live. And this is the part of your brain that's actually driving you to do those things that you don't want to be doing, or not doing the things that you should be doing or want to be doing. And it's also your protector. Because you see, if we were hurt in some way, emotionally speaking, it will develop interesting ways to help us to, well, protect ourselves. So let's say we have a person who is really overweight and they want to lose weight, but they don't know why they can't. And maybe the reason, if it's not hormonal or some side effect from medication or something, maybe it's because they were maybe sexually molested when they were really young and they decided that they didn't want to be sexually attractive to men to keep the men away. I've had quite a few clients in their 30s, 40s, for which this was absolutely what happened in their case. Just one example. Or anxiety. Anxiety is about worrying about something that hasn't happened yet because the thing did happen before and there's some trigger to it that engages the worry again. And the best way to get rid of anxiety actually is to do some really deep breathing. So I would suggest that you do that whenever you need to. Just take a nice deep breath in, hold it for 4 seconds or so, and then release it. Do that 3 or 4 times and anxiety should go away. Or you can just ask yourself a simple question: am I safe and okay where I am at now? And most of the time, you really truly are, and you can just let it go that easily. Then there's the other part of the brain, and that's actually the higher conscious. Now, higher conscious is actually what Carl Jung would have called the collective unconscious, and this is our connection to our spirituality, all that ever was, ever will be, all of our innate creativity and intelligence. But the best part about the higher conscious, superconscious, is that it gets the defense mechanism of the unconscious out of the way so that we can easily do the work to heal the events that caused the trauma, that caused whatever the other problems are that people are contending with. And they can vary from person to person. Most of the time it goes back to situations of not feeling so good about oneself because of something that was said to them when they were so young that their own mind wasn't developed yet to the point where it could understand how to do this thing called judgment, or be able to understand another person's perspective. Because as young kids, we're not able to do that yet. We're not able to reason. We're not able to rationalize. That doesn't happen until after 7, 8 years old, and even then, we're very egocentric beings in many cases. Yes, there are some loving, caring, affectionate kids, but by and large, kids, well, they're in their own world and they want things the way they want them, right? And it's true for teenagers as well. You all know that's true, right? Right now, I want what I want, and I don't want to hear any excuses. Well, that may well be, and we still have things that we need to contend with through our life. So anyway, that's one thing that I'd like to share with you. The other principle that I'd like to share with you is this whole idea that in the conventional world of psychotherapy, mental health, they've pathologicalized all normal emotions. We have our emotions that we can learn from them. And if we get positive learnings from those negative events, we can release those negative events and therefore the trauma that was occurring in our mind as a result of that negative event. There's a very simple technique that I've learned in order to do that really quick and easily. So no, you don't need to go tell your stories over and over again to some mental health professional to reinvigorate the pain and the trauma that you already lived through without getting any answers to it. No, it's absolutely not necessary. We can help you to release that stuff easily and quickly, like in minutes. And I'm not kidding either, especially for you folks who are under 25, 26 years old. And lastly, I'd like to explain to you about neurolinguistic programming. Neurolinguistic programming is really communication. And if you think about it, we have our 5 senses, right? We have our visual, we have our auditory, we have our kinesthetic, which is, touching and feeling things emotionally. We have our sense of smell, and we have our sense of taste. And yet there's a problem because there's so many stimuli coming in through all those senses that our unconscious mind needs to delete a lot of it, which creates distortion. But it also brings similar ideas together so that we can learn things. So if you look at a chair, which is slightly different in form than another chair, from a different chair, they're all chairs, right? We understand the concept chair. But then that goes into our memories, and in our memories, we, as I said, distort things, so we don't necessarily remember things the same way that a person who was at that same event that we were would remember it. And then we have these things called values, beliefs, and attitudes, and these are unconscious as well. You might be consciously aware of them, but there's many of them that are unconscious, and you know that something like that has been hit upon when someone asks you to do something and you get that weird feeling in your stomach that it doesn't feel right for some reason. Those are your values and beliefs showing up to keep you on a path that is more aligned with your values and beliefs. That's why they're there. Then we have this thing called an internal representation, and that's the image or the feeling that we get in the mind when we think of something as simple as, if you just take a second and play with me and just close your eyes and think of some wonderful food that maybe your grandmother created for you when you were a small child. I just want you to imagine that thing being made and eating it, and just get a sense of what those feelings are that come up as a result of eating that particular food. You can open your eyes now. You get the idea that maybe you felt loved for, cared for, tasted delicious, but yet it wasn't there. Well, those internal representations are actually how we code the experiences we have in our lives, which creates our posture, how we hold ourselves, and also our behaviors. So with neurolinguistic programming, which is done in a normal waking state but with special phrasing, we're able to help people to easily shift their internal representations from something that isn't working for them to something that is going to work with them to help them get their outcomes. Well, I think that's about enough learning for one session today, so I'm going to bid you a fond farewell for now and look forward to teaching you the wonders of your mind and the amazing things that you can do when you actually understand how it works, how to access it, and to create a life that is truly worth living. Because I'll have to say to you this, a well-lived life, there's nothing better than that. And that's something you know from your inside out, not the outside in, as your culture or your family or your loving teachers would like you to believe. No, it needs to come from you. This is Suzanne Kellner-Zinck from Dawning Visions Hypnosis. And as always, I thank you for spending your time with me till next time.